Good morning, All Souls Community Church. Today's Thursday, July the 2nd, and this week we are talking much about what God and the Bible has to say about identity. Who am I? Who do you think you are? How are you doing with that question? Honestly, how are you doing with it? Have you asked God in? Have you said, Lord, would you show me who I think I am, and would you replace any place that's a broken understanding with who you actually say I am, who you say you made me to be, and who, when I put my faith in Jesus, you have remade me to be? Have you honestly asked that question this week? Have you taken the time to listen, to be still in his presence, and to hear what he has to say? Or have you fallen into a trap? Are you stuck there? Have you resisted the temptation, resisted the call, rather, and fallen into the temptation of not wanting to die to yourself in this one particular area of your life? For friends, this is the starting point. If we can't get past this, there is no growing. There is no growing in Christ until and unless we see where we've been stuck with regard to our identity. And remember, in his book, Soul Care, Dr. Rob Reimer outlines, using different language, but the language we used together is this notion of accomplishment, applause, and control as three identity lies or traps, as we talked about them. Places where we get stuck. Accomplishment, meaning that I can, and in fact I must, earn my value. And so I work really hard, I go to school, I get degrees, I accomplish all these things so that the sum total of my earnings equals my value. I am my accomplishments. And the way that you know that you're stuck in that you're looking to that to be your identity. Now listen, there's nothing wrong with working hard. In fact, God tells us to work hard. And so if you've thought that, if you're saying that even right now as these words are coming out of my mouth, well, I work hard. Aren't we supposed to work hard? Yes, we are. But we know that we're caught in the trap of identity, of accomplishment as identity, when we are aggressive, when we have to win no matter the cost, when winning, whether it's a game or whether it's a job or an argument or whatnot, where it cuts us so deeply to the heart when we can't get over it. We have those conversations in our minds, or we start planning immediately what we're going to do differently next time so that we can win. Those are the ways that you know you've placed too many of your eggs in the basket of your own accomplishments. Also, when we start to look at others who don't have the same accomplishments as us in a judgmental way, when we say, well, I've worked hard and I've gotten this, and they don't have this, therefore they must not have what? Worked as hard as I have, been as smart as I am, been as aggressive as or as steadfast, right? We use different words, as I am, to accomplish these things. We start to judge others based off of the standard by which we ourselves are living. And in fact, we insist on it even blindly because we've staked our value there. Do you struggle with that? Is that where you're at this morning or this week? Have you pushed back? Because the other part of it is applause. The second trap that Dr. Reimer talks about is the applause trap, meaning fear of man, approval of others. That it's not just my accomplishments, but it's how you respond to my accomplishments. It's whether you think I'm pretty or smart or talented or I've arrived or I have enough or whatever it is. And so I'm listening to you to get my value. It's not just my hard work, it's your response to my hard work. And I know that I've fallen into that trap when I cannot take critique, when I'm incredibly defensive. If you disagree with me, it's not just that I have to win the argument. I've got to convince you to come on my side of the argument. Why? Because I've staked my identity there. I found my value there. Same thing with the idea of unity versus uniformity, right? We can't be unified if we disagree on anything. We have to be uniform across the board, because otherwise you're not just disagreeing with my idea, you're disagreeing with me. I've staked my value there. Is that where you struggle? Or the third area that we talked about was the area of control, right? And so it's usually folks who've been abused, who've been hurt deeply in their life, that say, nah, it's not going to be my achievements that give me value, because I've already seen that that's a fraud. And it's not going to be you that gives me my value because you've already hurt me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little area of my life, this little corner over here, and I'm going to save it for myself. And so that means I'm going to justify overspending at the grocery store or at the fashion store or at the sporting goods store. I'm going to be okay with it because this is the little place where I get to pamper myself. This is the little place where I get to indulge myself, and I feel justified in doing it because I've been hurt out there. Again, no one's saying that you being hurt is okay, and no one's saying that learning proper boundaries is not the right response. Absolutely, proper boundaries to abuse and offense, that is necessary. But here's the aha for us as we look at our own hearts. If there are those little areas that we have tucked away in the corner, that's a flag. God's saying, hey, wait a second. I think you've believed that your value is going to be rooted in your ability to control this one area of your life. And you know that that's true too when someone else tries to come into that area, to speak into it, to be a part of it in a way that's different than what you want. What do you say? What's your answer every time? That's right. No. No, you cannot. No, this is my safe place. No, this is my time. No, this is me, right? So whether it's accomplishment or applause or control, which area do you struggle with? Because as we talked about on Sunday, the invitation of our God is not simply to see the places where we're trapped, but to actually begin to put them to death. To put off the old way of thinking and be renewed in our minds and put on the new way. Well, what does that mean? Do you remember we went through the stages of grief? We talked about how oftentimes when we see this about ourselves, what we end up doing is we end up saying, no, that's not true. We deny it, right? And then we start to get what? Angry. We get angry because it's like, that can't be true of me. And stop saying that it's true of me. And then we start to bargain. We say, well, it might be a little true of me, but not so true over here. And then we get depressed because we start to realize it's more and more true than we thought it was. And we don't like that. And then finally we get to acceptance, the stages of grief. As the medical profession, as the psychological profession, what they talk about with someone who's been given a terminal diagnosis, they go through each one of those stages. And so it should be no surprise when we in our lives look at this area of thinking. This worldview is the word for it, the way we have viewed the world, and we realize, wait a second, like, first of all, when someone tells us we're wrong, no, I'm not wrong, we get angry. We deny, right? First we deny, then we get angry. Then we start to bargain. Well, maybe I was wrong over here, but not wrong over there, and we start to then get depressed. We're going through this process because God tells us that the way to change is the way of the cross, the way of death to life, of picking up our cross daily and following Him. And so, what does that look like? It means we need to put to death the old man, the old person inside of each of us, the old way of thinking, the old way of living. For as Paul wrote to the church in Corinth, for those of us who are in Christ, we are a new creation. The old is gone and the new has come. Therefore, we need to put off the old ways that are still inside of us, the old ways that we're just used to, even unconsciously. We need to have our eyes open to that, put them off and put them on. Why? Because when we do, what did we talk about on Tuesday? The world changes. When we do, my heart changes and our hearts change towards one another, because the one unifying principle between us and God is this: I am far more broken than I thought I was. I am far more messed up in my thinking than I thought I was. And you know what? So are you. We are far more broken than we thought we were. That's the good news of the gospel. You're worse than you think. And yet at the very same time, you're more loved and forgiven and justified than you can even imagine right now. And so where those places, when you go to the Lord and He starts to reveal them, rather than saying, no, and therefore self-justifying, today's another opportunity to go to the Lord and say, Lord, show me, not show that person, show those people. No, Lord, show me where I am more broken in my thinking and in my living than I thought I was, so that I can come together in this principle called grace, unmerited favor, that's going to unite me to you, has in Christ, and unites me to others, even those that were once my enemies. Brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, we are Christians first. We are children of God first. Our identity is secure. I am not the sum total of all of my worst mistakes or all of my best successes. I am the sum total of Jesus's victories. We are the sum total of Jesus's victories. And today we get to live into that. I pray that you will, that you'll take time to listen. Have a great Thursday. God bless.